Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, if we get back together. That's a big if. I got an email here from a guy who's trying to get back together with his ex-girlfriend due to, as he describes, some fucking up that he did. So they're starting to hang out and have fun and hook up again, it looks like. But she's telling him that she's confused and she's unsure. She's unsure whether or not being together is a good idea, those kinds of things. So before we get into his email, I'm going to read a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we're going to go through his email and analyze what he's doing right and wrong. And so the quote says, "It's the nature of feminine energy to be unsure, confused, and indecisive, to say one thing 1 minute, and then a few minutes later, the complete opposite. It's the nature of masculine energy to be direct, decisive, and confident, in control, calm, cool, and collected. Men and women both have masculine and feminine energy. Feminine energy is the natural essence of most women, and masculine energy is the natural essence of most men. Men who do not understand the nature of sexual polarity or masculine and feminine energy are often confused, befuddled, and extremely frustrated by women's seemingly contradictory behavior. Men who understand women know that the most effective way to shift their women into a peaceful, loving, certain, relaxed, open, and happy state is to make sure that they are centered in their own masculine energy by being direct, decisive, fearless, and certain of themselves." I mean, think about it this way. If the guy is unsure, if he's asking a woman to make the decisions, he doesn't know what he wants, or he's fearful that he's not going to get what he wants, that's going to cause a woman to move into that kind of a state. But if you're sure, if you know where you're going and what you want, and you pursue it without fear, she'll feel safe and comfortable with you and just be happy letting you be the leader and following you. But if you're not, if you're unsure, if you're indecisive, then you basically first force her to move into her masculine energy, which is not her natural essence. And what's going on is you're basically making her be the man in the relationship, and it never ends well. So let's go through his email. He says, "Hey Corey, long story short, my ex broke up with me because I was very insecure and hurtful at the start of college. I was her first relationship and sexual experience, and she ended it in tears. It was hard on both of us. Well, breakups suck ass and they're never fun. I chased and all of that, of course. She made contact through, and luckily I found your work. We met up a few times throughout the past 4 months and hooked up, etc. She also revealed that there was another guy in the picture, but eventually that failed as he was hooking up with 5 other girls. Winter break came and we really didn't talk much. She reached out on Christmas, but I didn't say anything on her birthday or the New Year. She got in contact with me multiple times and finally asked to see me. That's a good sign. Because like I talk about in the the article, 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back, if a woman's reaching out to you, you're an ex-girlfriend or a girl you screwed up with, and you're trying to make dates when she reaches out, but she gives you, leaves things up in the air or won't make plans with you, you're only going to ask her on 2 separate consecutive occasions. And then if she shoots you down both times, then you're just not going to ask anymore, and you're going to have to wait till she brings it up. So I assume that's probably why he's mentioning this here, for those of you that don't know this yet. This weekend she came over, we had dinner, and a night full of sex. Awesome. Sounds like things are progressing. She slept over, and the day after she brought up our terms. She agreed to being exclusive, didn't like the idea of an open relationship at all, and we said that we'll take it slow and not jump into a, quote, relationship. She continued engaging in conversations which I would keep fun and sexual. We also made plans to meet this Friday. This is where it gets weird. This morning, while she was in school, she engaged in random conversation. I cut it short because I was busy, but then she asked if we could talk. We arranged a call time and got each other on the phone. She told me that she's confused because she doesn't know what the right thing to do is. This is indicative of how she's feeling emotionally about you. That's why it's so important when a woman is confused and she's unsure, just give her the space and the time to miss you so she can figure that shit out on her own. The worst thing a guy can do is start calling her, text her, trying to force her to give him some clarity about where he stands with her. Because if you do that, then she'll go from being confused about you to being sure that she doesn't want to date you, or she just wants to put you in friend zone. A man is going on with his life no matter what a woman or what the circumstances of his life are. He's always moving towards his purpose and his mission and the highest expression of who he is. In other words, reaching his full potential. Hopefully she comes along and wants to be a part of his journey, but if not, he knows in time he'll find somebody else. She said it's either black and white with her. Either we're together or we're not, and that although she agreed to be exclusive until we figure it out, she doesn't want either of us to feel strung along if things don't work out in the end. She cried a few times and even said that she wishes the breakup didn't happen and that we could go back in time and fix the problems, to which I responded, "Babe, the past isn't our future and nothing is stopping us." Her response was, "I just don't know, in all honesty. I was moving on, but regardless, I miss you so much. I feel a piece of me missing, but I don't know if that's a good thing for me or a bad thing." So her emotions are obviously all over the place. Plus, she's young. She's in college. It's her first real relationship. This just tells me, at least at this moment in time, she's not crazy head over heels in love with you. You got together, you hung out, you had fun, you had great sex, it was all awesome, and it seemed like when things were really good between you. And then so she's away from you, and then she starts thinking about how great things were over the weekend, but then she starts thinking about all the other times where you chased, you pursued, you were a jerk to her, or whatever it happened to be that led to your original breakup. That's why you just got to let it be. Let her be present with her emotions and come to a resolution on her own. But when she says things like this, when she's basically telling you that she's unsure whether to be together or not, it's always good to ask, what do you mean? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Because she mentioned she didn't know if being together was the right thing or not. Well, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on that? You got to get her to talk and open up, instead of just assuming that one phrase or sentence means a certain thing. If you're a guy, it's always better to ask and let her tell you explicitly and specifically. A lot of guys make the mistake when they're in this position of just throwing a label at her, saying, okay, this means this or that means that, and then they start taking action based upon it, and 9 times out of 10 their assumptions are wrong. So every guy should get in the habit of adding the question to his repertoire. What do you mean, honey? I'm not sure where you're coming from. Please explain it to me. He continues on, he says, I simply told her that she could call me when she changes her mind and that the door is open. This was pretty funny. She asked me, how are you being so nonchalant about it? In other words, you have peace, you have certainty, you're in your masculine energy. That's what's really going on. And she's all over the ice. But since you're certain and you're kind of thinking from the end, like, hey, of course it's going to work out. Of course it's going to be awesome. Why? Because I'm awesome. And everything I do is awesome. And that's the proper way, the proper mindset that you need to have. You're centered in your masculinity. And she's the one that's kind of all over the ice. And when you're centered, it causes her to move into a peaceful, relaxed state as well, and then become certain of her feelings. So you did a good job by being in the right place and responding appropriately. He says, I responded by saying that I'm not going to force her into anything and that love is free, and at the end of the day, we're both human. I also told her that if this means that either of us can go work things out with other people until we make our minds, that we might as well just call it quits now. So she's basically saying, I don't know, maybe we should date other people, blah, blah, and he's basically telling her, you're either in or you're out. You either want to work on us or you don't. You either want to date other people or you don't. He's getting her because women tend to blow things up. They tend to get emotional. They tend to take little things and make them into these big ordeals. And it's the man's job to gain clarity and take the big problems and shrink them down to their little parts. I talk about this in my book. This is where the relationship skills really come in handy, because this is not a girl that he hooked up with 1 or 2 times. This is his former girlfriend who he was with for several years. She said, I'm not confused because of anyone else being in the picture. I just don't know if this is right or not. I get so sad knowing that what we had for 2 years isn't going to be the same even if we did get back together. I told her that she was right, and that it's not going to be the same, and that's not the goal. I told her the goal was just to enjoy each other's presence and see what happens. I made a sexual joke to which she responded by cracking up. Trust me, Corey, I kept the entire conversation as non-serious as possible. You did a good fucking job, dude. I had her laughing, and she would talk a lot. She was surprised when I told her that I loved her. She had been saying it all weekend. Notice how she's constantly saying it, and he says it once. When I said to let me know when she wants to see me, she said, I already know that I want to see you. I would see you every day if I could, and just quit life and spend time with you being carefree and not having a worry in the world. You notice how from 1 minute to the next, she's all over the ice, saying she's confused, she doesn't know if dating other people is the right or wrong thing. He handles himself appropriately, and almost instantaneously, look what she says to him. I already know I want to see you. I would see you every day if I could, and just quit life and spend time with you being carefree and not having a worry in the world. I just don't know if that's the right thing to do because I don't agree with being in the middle, but I also don't want to jump right back into a relationship. So it's like she's saying two completely contradictory things, and the average guy hears this and goes, what the fuck? Huh? He says, I restated that she should call me when she changes her mind, and she asked, do I wait a week, a month? Keep in touch with me because you know I will. We got off the phone, that's that. And so when she's saying, do I wait a week? Do I wait a month? You say, baby, you call me whenever you want. I would have made a date to get together to see her, but you guys maybe, you weren't really clear. Maybe you're like long distance from each other. If that's the case, then you're going to have to do Skype video dates or FaceTime chats when you can't be together physically in person. He says, I really love this girl a lot. We didn't break up because of cheating. She admitted a lie about meeting up with a guy in the school cafeteria, but that was months ago. I really don't care about him, and I'm confident she's done with him. We broke up because of insecurities, normal circumstances of school, and life progressing. She openly will say that she enjoys her time with me a whole lot, and so will I. I already know not to reach out to her and stay congruent with her reaching out to me first. And so he's got a couple of questions, 5 different questions here at the end. He says, how do I handle the next time she reaches out to me? Simple. You're giving her space, which is perfect. You're not calling her, you're not texting her, you're not pursuing her at all. Because she's in this confused place. 1 minute, in one sentence, she's saying, oh, I totally want to be with you. And then the very next sentence is, I'm not sure if I want to be with you, and maybe we should be dating other people, and I don't know if this is the right thing or not. And as a man, a lot of guys think, okay, I got to solve this problem, I got to fix this, I got to get her to be on one side or the other. No, you don't. Women solve their problems by talking through them and talking about them. So she's going to have the same conversation with her girlfriends, maybe her mother, her sorority sisters, or whatever it happens to be, and hash it out. And she'll figure it out on her own. And when she does, she'll call you. That's just that's how they roll. So the best thing, how do you handle it next time she reaches out? Assume she wants to see you and make either a Skype video date if you guys can't get together physically in person. Obviously, if you can get together in person, then make a date. Hang out, have fun, and hook up. You got to let her come to you. I discussed this in detail in the article that I wrote, 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back. He says, is there another guy in the picture, or is she genuinely unsure? He says, I haven't reached out or pursued at all. Well, that's the right response, is to do nothing. Is there another guy in the picture? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like she was pretty open about the other guy that she was talking to that apparently was hooking up with 5 other girls. But the bottom line is the reason she's unsure is because her attraction level is low. She had all these negative things that happened in your relationship that led to a breakup, and now your behavior, just like she said, is nonchalant. You seem totally cool, totally centered, like everything's great. Like you're not worried about anything. She's the one that's having all these fearful thoughts. I mean, obviously you're still experiencing them as well, but you're not showing that to her. You're just showing her centeredness, masculinity, and strength. And therefore, she'll come to a resolution on her own. And at the end of the day, even if there was another guy in the picture, it doesn't really fucking matter. Because if she's going to cheat, she's going to cheat, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if she does do that, you guys are exclusive, even though you're not like back together officially in a relationship. I mean, at the end of the day, she's going to hook up with somebody else if she wants. And so that's why you just hang back and do nothing and see what she does. Because if there is another guy in the picture, eventually as she starts to feel safe and comfortable and she starts to bond and connect with you and her attraction level starts to go back up, especially once she falls back in love again after a few months, if there was another guy in the picture, she'll want to get everything out on the table and she'll tell you. And then you can make the decision whether or not you want to stay exclusive or date or just keep her as a sex playmate. He says, am I being too nice by openly saying that she can just call me when she's figured it out, changed her mind? Not at all. Because what's the opposite of that? Calling her, texting her, trying to force her to come to a decision because you don't like the fact that she's unsure. Therefore, you're trying to force her to become unsure. A man who's comfortable with himself and comfortable with his life and comfortable with his purpose, he's not going to have time for this bullshit. This is feminine stuff. This is feminine energy. These are her feelings. These are her emotions. And therefore, if she wants his opinion or his advice, she can ask for it. But she needs to come to a resolution of this on her own. And that's why space is exactly what you need to do. And you're doing the right thing. He says, am I on the right track? Yeah, absolutely, dude. You're doing pretty fucking good. Is there a good chance of getting back with her? Yeah, flip a coin. I mean, it really could go either way. He says, is all of the extremely romantic love stuff she said a lot more than just those things, or is it just BS? Well, when a woman says I love you, it means I love you, but it only means I love you in that moment. If she says I love you right now and then you totally piss her off in an hour or two and she says I hate your guts later, well, later she hates your guts because that's what she's feeling in that moment. And so you can't latch on to an emotion or a feeling or a good time and think that it applies 6 months later in the relationship. It only matters when she's saying it. The key is, like especially with the I love yous, is she still saying I love you? Well, she was saying it all weekend, but is she still saying it now? You've got to pay attention to those things. And that's why if she says I love you 10 times and you only say it once or twice for every 10 times she says it, and then all of a sudden she stops saying I love you, you just wait. Keep hanging out, having fun, hooking up, being her best option. Think about it. Every time she calls, every time she gets in touch, you make her smile, you make her happy, you make her have a good time. Because that's what you've decided ahead of time. So every time she interacts with you, she's going to feel good. And most guys don't know this shit. And so they're going to constantly do things that are going to turn her off and make her feel negative emotions towards them. And so the last one, what's your opinion on her, my approach, and what do you think the next step to take is? Because I'm really willing to give the relationship another try. What I would do if I were you is you're doing perfect, man. You're following things along exactly as you should be. Just wait to hear from her, and then when you do, assume she wants to see you and make the next date. You're in a driver's seat. There's a really good chance at this point. As long as you keep doing what you're doing, I'd say in about 2 months she'll be back head over heels in love with you, wanting to be exclusive again, and think that she was just crazy that time that she was thinking and feeling all the things that she's been feeling here. So just keep doing what you're doing. Focus on school. Focus on you. Focus on taking care of yourself. Focus on working out. Focus on eating right. Focus on getting good grades. Focus on studying things that you're really passionate about and you're really interested in. You should be focusing on your mission and your purpose in life, and everything else will fall into place. It's all about being the best version of yourself that you can be, and then she can figure out her emotions and all this stuff on her own in her own time. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.